Hey everyone, welcome back to Mindful Reads. Today, we're diving into a powerful and thought-provoking novel, James by Percival Everett. If you've never heard of this one, it's a story that's hard to forget once you've read it. I'm going to be talking about this novel from the perspective of the main character James, as we walk through his journey and the deeper themes Percival Everett explores. Before we jump in, a quick note: this book is not your typical read. It's layered, subtle, and does a lot more with its quiet moments than it does with big, loud plot twists. It's a story about identity, history, race, and the struggle of understanding who we are in the world. If you're looking for a read that will make you think long after you've returned the last page, James is definitely worth your time. If you're interested in exploring the book in its entirety, I've left a link to the full version below. All right, let's dive in. Spoilers ahead, so be sure to read the book first if you haven't already. So let's start with me, James. I know it's weird to talk about myself in the third person, but it feels right for this kind of conversation. To put it simply, I'm a man trying to figure out my place in a world that doesn't seem to know what to do with me. My story isn't a typical heroic arc, and you're not going to find grandiose battles or epic speeches. What you'll find is a quiet journey of self-discovery, grappling with my own identity, and learning to understand the world I live in. Now, I know my name, James, sounds like it should mean something. It's a common name, right? It's not unique, it's not special, and that's part of the problem. Throughout the novel, I'm always searching for meaning in something as simple as my name. You might not think about it much, but names carry weight. They can be linked to your family, your history, your culture. But me? I'm kind of lost in that regard. The whole book, in a way, is a search for identity. It's me looking for who I really am, something beyond the name I was given. So here is the deal. I find myself living in a world that is not as straightforward as it seems. It is one of those stories where I can quite make sense of everything around me. My life is not about chasing down some big goal or saving the world. It is more about me trying to figure out who I am. What makes me, me? I think about my family sometimes. Growing up wasn't easy. There were challenges for sure. But there's always this feeling that I'm trying to escape something. Something about the world around me feels off. It's not just the obvious stuff. It's the way I interact with the world, the way people look at me. It's like I don't quite fit, no matter how much I try to make myself fit. And that's where the deeper themes of the book really hit. There's a lot of talk about race and history in James. Not in the way you'd expect, but more in the quiet, subtle way that race becomes something that defines you without you ever asking for it. It's in the way people treat you, in how they expect you to act, and in the way you were boxed into categories that may not align with who you really are. One of the things that struck me most in this book is how history looms over my every step. The past isn't something you can just escape. In fact, it's like a shadow that follows you, constantly reminding you of who you are supposed to be or who the world thinks you should be. There's this ongoing battle between what I want for myself and the way the world wants to define me based on what came before me. The thing is, I'm not trying to ignore my history. I'm not trying to run from it. But it's hard. When you're a person in a society that has expectations based on race, culture, and history, it's almost like you don't have control over your own narrative. Everyone around you has their own ideas about who you are based on the past, but you don't have the chance to show them who you really are in the present. That is a big theme in this book. How do you define yourself when others are constantly defining you based on who they think you should be? The world in James is rich and complicated. On the surface, things seem normal, but as you dig deeper, there's this undercurrent of tension that runs through the book. Society isn't just a place to live, it's a constant source of pressure. The setting is a kind of backdrop that constantly reinforces the themes of identity and race. It is not that the world is evil or trying to harm me outright. It is more that the systems in place are built to make people like me feel out of place. But here's the twist. I don't really have all the answers. I'm not a revolutionary. I'm not some guy who's figured everything out. Instead, I'm someone who's just trying to make sense of the small pieces I have in front of me. It's almost like I'm walking around trying to solve a puzzle, but the pieces keep changing shape the longer I look at them. I'm not alone in my journey, though. The people I encounter play a huge role in helping me, or maybe hindering me, figure out who I am. Some of them challenge me, some offer me comfort, and others, well, they just make things more complicated. The relationships I have with these people force me to confront aspects of myself I did not want to face. What's interesting about the characters in James is that they all grappling with their own identities, too. It's not just about me. It's about everyone around me trying to navigate the same broken systems. They might have different backgrounds or experiences, but the struggle to define who we are in a world that doesn't make room for us is universal. A big part of the book is about my internal struggle. I'm constantly questioning who I am and whether I can change the way others see me. I've got this deep, nagging feeling that I'm not fully seen by my family, by society, by the people I interact with every day. And maybe that's the hardest part. It's not that the world is actively trying to hurt me. It is that the world just doesn't know how to fit me into its neat little boxes. There's a lot of silence in my journey. It's not about loud protests or grand gestures. It's more about the quiet moments, the small interactions that speak volumes. It's about the conversations I have with people who get it, even when I don't fully get it myself. In a way, the book is an exploration of what happens when you try to exist in a world that doesn't understand you, and how you can't always change other people's perceptions no matter how hard you try. As the book progresses, I start to realize that maybe it's not about trying to fix everything. Maybe it's about learning to live within the constraints of the world, while still holding on to some semblance of who I am. There's a shift in the story toward acceptance, not just of the world around me, but of myself. By the end of the book, I don't have all the answers. I haven't solved everything, but there's a moment of clarity where I understand that maybe it's okay to live with the ambiguity. Maybe it's okay not to have a neat, tidy conclusion about who I am or what I'm supposed to be. Life isn't always about clear resolutions. Sometimes it's about accepting the complexity. So that's my story, James. It's not a grand adventure with a clear-cut hero, but it's a journey of self-discovery in a world that doesn't always make sense. James is a book about the struggle of finding meaning in a world that doesn't always have room for you. It's about wrestling with identity, race, and history in ways that aren't always easy to explain. If you're looking for a book that challenges you, makes you think, and lingers long after you've finished it, then James is definitely one to check out. It's quiet, thoughtful, and incredibly powerful in its subtlety. Thanks for watching, and if you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Have you read James yet? What did you think? I'd love to hear your take on it. Catch you in the next one.